Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to share with you all the books I think you need to create garments from the first sketch to the final garment. So first things first, if you already have an idea or like a mood or feeling that you want to go with, you should start pulling ideas like images from magazines or online, say Pinterest or Instagram. And to help you get started with your mood board and your sketchbook, you should find a book like this called The Complete Fashion Sketchbook. And this is basically a book that gives you inspiration of other people's sketchbooks, and it also gives you tasks to work on in and out of your own sketchbook just to help get all those creative juices flowing. And you should definitely take a look at as many books like this as you can. Definitely go to your local library or bookstore, and again, definitely check out Pinterest, Instagram, even YouTube sometimes has some really great inspiration. I also recommend this book because it has 5 main sections which help you break up your decision making about, I guess, how you will plan your mood, if that makes sense. So it says right here in the contents, there are lessons about research, investigation, visual thinking, design direction, and design development. So that's really helpful to learn about all these categories and pinpoint your ideas. So once you get your sketchbook down and some exercises and you get more of a feeling of what you want to go for, you can create that final mood board and move on to the next book. So once you have your mood board, you probably have an idea or a sense of what kind of garments you want to make, what styles, and overall how you want your collection or even just the one outfit look like. So here is the fashion sketchbook, and this is the 6th edition. Books like these are amazing resources because they teach you everything you need to know about drawing your design. So this book in particular goes over many different categories, including different gendered and height croquis, goes over feet, hands, hair, faces, of course clothing, goes into shoes. Pretty much anything you can think of that would go on your croquis would be in this book. In addition to just the plain frontal view of your croquis, this book also goes over the different angles of, again, heads, hair, hands, feet, clothing, different ruffles and how they look at all different angles. And this does take time to master. There are lessons in the beginning that talk about how to create the croquis from scratch, or you can print one out off the internet and use that. But this is a very good tool to understand the movement of clothing and how it sits on the body and where the shading goes. And it also goes over a little bit of coloring in with markers. You're probably realizing by now that this is kind of a longer process than you probably thought of at first. But if you feel like you want to skip a portion of any of these steps that I'm talking to you guys about, definitely listen to your own self. You don't have to go rule by rule with what I'm talking about. So another section in this book that is really helpful is about technical flats. So you would use technical flats when you're trying to translate your idea to someone else that will be creating your design. For example, if you work with a large company, like an apparel company, you need technical flats that have all the specifications. They have all the specifications of each garment that they need to make. These are actually my favorite kind of drawings because I don't really care for making fashion sketches. I haven't really practiced at doing it, so I just think I'm not good at it. And I'd rather just do technical drawing. Technical drawing is actually my favorite compared to fashion sketches, but it's really only used in tech packs or spec sheets to specify all the different measurements and notions that you need for the garment. Lastly, with this book, it also comes with a CD where I'm pretty sure it's the author. She goes over everything in detail and you can visually see her drawing and explaining everything. Now that you have your ideas and your mood board and everything fleshed out, you're probably going to want to make the clothing yourself, but you probably want to start with a little bit of knowledge of sewing if you don't have any already. So I have these 2 books that I'm awkwardly holding because this one's really heavy, but this one is Professional Sewing Techniques for Designers, and this is the Complete Photo Guide to Sewing. And I do have both books, but I definitely that was loud. I definitely prefer this book because of all of the pictures that you have in here. I also really enjoy the layout of this book better compared to the other. In general, these books typically go over the types of threads that you need to use, all about your sewing machine, even though all of the types of sewing machines are different. Goes into a little bit about sergers and all the basics that you need to know for sewing on a machine in general. Both books cover topics such as collar styles, buttons, pockets, zippers, and especially finishing raw edges of seams. You name it, it's probably covered in these books. So after you get a few of these techniques mastered, I highly recommend going to your local craft store and picking up some commercial patterns that you can start with. I think that would be the best option before you start going into pattern making, unless you've used many commercial patterns before and you feel comfortable to move on to the next step. Now we can move on to pattern making once you're ready. And I again have two books. I have Principles of Flat Pattern Design, and I also have Pattern Making for Fashion Design. And between these two, I use this one all the time. I prefer this book more compared to the other because I like the layout and how each step is worded very clearly. So this book in particular goes over how to measure the body, how to draft the basic bodice, skirt, and sleeve sloper, and pretty much every pattern adjustment you can think of. So there are sections in this book on tops, skirts, pants, sleeves, collars, not buttons, that doesn't make sense, cuffs, dresses, as well as swimwear. And these all sound pretty basic, but when I say, for example, skirts, I mean A-line, slips, ruffled skirts, box pleated, pin tucked, every type of skirt, every type of bodice or top, tank top, short sleeve, no sleeve, wraps, like pretty much anything. They have the pattern adjustment in here for you to learn. So in general, this book goes into detail about nearly any kind of pattern adjustment you can think of. And it also has some small sections in the back for menswear and also children's wear. So at this point, you might have to analyze what type of construction your garment requires. Some clothing is better suited for pattern making, and some of it, including a lot of dresses and skirts, are better off for draping. I definitely 100% suggest having a little bit of pattern making skills before going into draping. Pattern making is very technical and has rules and is to the point, whereas draping is a little more willy-nilly and it's really easy to just mess everything up. So I just have one book for draping, and it's actually by the same author as my pattern making book that I really like, and it's Draping for Apparel Design, and these are both by Helen Joseph Armstrong. Highly recommend these books. So to quickly sum up, the draping book is basically the pattern making book, but just for draping. Like everything, the setup is completely the same, everything that you do in the book, and the sequence of, say, like the ruffle sleeve, and then it's the bell sleeve, and then it's a long sleeve, all that is in the same order. So it's really easy to just flip between both books. Both books follow the same structure, which is really great, because if you learn one technique from, say, pattern making, you can go over to the draping book and learn the same thing with the same wording pretty much, just for draping it instead. And I find this really easy because, again, it's the same author, so everything's written the same and there's no weird jargon that you don't understand when flipping between two different books. So I'm not sure if you guys have noticed yet, but I haven't talked about sequence of sewing, which is a whole nother thing. I feel like they need a book on just how to sew something like a simple skirt or a button-up shirt. There isn't really anything except for, you know, a pattern that you buy from the store that will really get into the sequence of sewing a specific garment together. That's why I suggest books like this one. This is Quick Sew's Beautiful Lingerie that I had to get for one of my classes, and it's basically a book that came with all the patterns, and then inside teaches you how to sew everything, but everything's just in one handy book, and you don't have to buy 10 different patterns just to get all the information that you need. And I feel like with a book, you're not as likely to throw this away compared to instructions from a commercial pattern that you get in a flimsy envelope and then you lose half the pages and it just goes crazy. So I'm not too sure how popular these books are. Again, I bought it for one of my classes specifically because it was required. But if you see any books like this that have patterns included or that teach you how to sew certain things like button-ups, skirts, pants, just like the basic sequence of sewing the different pieces together, that would be really beneficial. But that's also why I suggest you work from commercial patterns first before making your own patterns. So the last few books I have are more of reference books, and they depend on what your needs are. So I have this book here, The Monot Method. It's total pattern fit. So you would basically use this book if you were using a lot of commercial patterns, say for yourself or a client, and you need to fit that pattern to them perfectly. And this book, as it says on the front, teaches you how to adjust, draft, and code the fit of sewing patterns for dresses, tops, and jackets. Doesn't go over pants because that's a whole nother thing that I don't have a book on currently, but I highly recommend this if you're working with clients and you mainly purchase commercial patterns. Another book if you're into tailoring is this one. This is the classic guide to sewing the perfect jacket, and I did use this for a suit jacket that I tailored myself, and it's really great because it goes over machine techniques as well as hand techniques. And so this book doesn't teach you how to sew the jacket step by step, but it shows you the techniques of sewing a jacket step by step, if that makes sense. Another reason why I really like this book is, you can see right here, it has 400 how-to photographs, which is perfect, and I highly recommend getting any book for sewing or anything that has to do with garment creation that has tons of pictures like this, because it's so helpful, and it's honestly really hard to find a good YouTube video that shows you everything that you want to know for whatever you're making. So the last book that I'm going to share with you guys is actually something that you can DIY for yourself. This is my textile kit, and this is basically a binder that has all of these fabrics that I stuck in here with some double-sided tape, and then it has the sample number, the name of the fabric, the fiber content, and then some extra notes. So I suggest all of you guys, if you can't find a book like this, to grab a 1-inch or 2-inch binder, some cardstock so it doesn't fall apart, and whenever you go to the craft store or fabric store, just ask for a swatch of the fabric, take a picture of the bolt and what it says that the fiber content is, and then look it up, find a name for it online, and try to keep a record of all the fabrics that you come in contact with so that you have something like this encyclopedia or dictionary of fabrics, and you can reference it and remember, like, oh yeah, that one had this as a fiber content, and this one is similar but it has this of a fiber content, etc. So something like this is really handy to have, and I got this from a university, so I don't think you can like just buy it anywhere. So I would definitely make your own if you can. So that's pretty much it for the video today. And I hope you at least learned one new thing from everything that I've spoken about. And please do not hesitate to leave a comment below if you have any questions about any of the books or anything in general that I spoke about. So don't forget to subscribe if you're new and give the video a thumbs up if you found it helpful. And also be sure to check out some of my other videos listed on the side somewhere. One of these sides, I'm not sure yet. And I'll see you in my next video.